This is a lesson for Algebra for 8-3. What we're doing today is that we are determining the IQR or interquartile range of a set of data. The formula for IQR for interquartile range is to take the quartile 3 and subtract quartile 1. Remember that you get that from going to stat and calc and one variable statistics, and it is in your 5-number summary. So all you have to do is subtract your Q3 minus your Q1, and that will give you your interquartile range. What the interquartile range is used for is it's a good measure of how predictable or how reliable your data is. If your IQR is really spread out, it is not predictable. If your IQR is really small and close together, it's more predictable. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, very spread out data in a box and whisker plot would look something like this. So here's our box and whisker plot. Let's just put our median in the middle here. This would be our Q1. Remember, the Q1 is the edge of the box right here. The Q3 is the edge of the box right here. So when it has a very large box, all right, when the box is very long, that is not predictable data because the range of values from your lowest number in Q1 to your highest number in Q1 is very spread out. It's very wide, as opposed to a very small IQR. Let me show you what that would look like. A very small IQR would look more like this. So you can see that 50% of your data is in that box. So 50% of your data is really, really spread out, as opposed to 50% of your data being very, very small. So a close together or small box is a small IQR that's more predictable, more reliable data. Where the box is really big, it's less predictable. So how do you do it? Well, what we have to do is we have to go into, this is really, really easy. All you have to do is go into your stat and edit. And in stat and edit, I already typed in the numbers for this into our L1. And so now I'm going to do stat, calc, one variable statistics. You need to make sure that you are on the correct list. I typed those numbers into L1, so I'm going to go down to calculate. Remember that the Q1 and Q3 is in your 5-number summary, so you do have to scroll down a little bit. Our Q1 value is 99 for this data, and our Q3 is 108. All that you need to do is use this formula, all right? So all we have to do is do Q3, which is 108, minus 99, and that gives us an IQR of 9. That would be very, very small, all right? That would be very, very small, so that would be very predictable, because when we're taking a look at our data, notice that our numbers are really, really close together, most of them. So that would be very reliable data because our IQR is very small. Let's take a look at another one. So sometimes they're going to ask you maybe to make a double box and whisker plot. All that you're going to do is put one box and whisker plot right above the other box and whisker plot. Sort of how I did this one right here, actually. All right, you're just putting one right above the other one. So let's take a look at the quick change numbers. All right, let's take a look at the quick change. Remember that we need to do our 5-number summary to do our box and whisker plot. So we have our min, we have our Q1, we have our median, we have our Q3, and we have our max. So I already went ahead and typed those numbers into my L2 this time. All right, I typed those numbers in. So I'm going to go stat, calc, one variable statistics. I need to change this to L2 because that's where my numbers are. And go down to your 5-number summary. So our min is 10. Our Q1 is 15. Our median is 19. Our Q3 is 22.5. And our max is 60. So this is for quick change. So if I was going to do my box and whisker plot, I'm going to put one right here for min, 15 is approximately right there for our Q1. 19 is approximately right here for our median. 22.5 for Q3. And our max is 60. So now I'm going to make my whiskers and make my box. That to me looks like a very, very small IQR right in here, all right, as opposed to all the data. Remember, 50% of our data is right in that middle part. So that's a very small IQR. So let's change colors and go to speedy oil. Again, we have to do that same thing. We need to find the min, the Q1, the median, the Q3, and the max. So I already went ahead and I typed in the data for speedy oil into my L3 this time. So I'm going to go to stat, calc, one variable statistics. I need to change mine to L3. Notice that I'm hitting second and L3 to change that list. Always double check your list before you type it in. I did that. So our min from our 5-number summary is 5. Our Q1 is 28. Our median is 36. Our Q3 is 50. And our max is 85. So I'm going to put you're just going to do one right on top of the other. So min is 5. Q1 is 28. So I'm going to approximate that right there. Median is 36. Again, another approximation. Q3 is 50. And max is 85. So I'm going to connect my whiskers first. And then draw my box. Notice that this box is significantly bigger than this box, all right? So this IQR is significantly larger than this IQR. So which one has the more reliable data, all right? So if we were talking about oil changes and the time that you have to wait, would you want to go to one that's more reliable, that you know how long you're going to wait? Or would you want to go to one that you might wait a short amount of time, you might wait a really long amount of time? Notice that for speedy oil, some people were waiting 5 minutes, but some people were waiting 85 minutes. This IQR tells me that 50% of the people that go to quick change here have a wait time in between about 15 and 19. So that's very reliable data. They're very consistent. As to speedy oil, they're all over the place. All right. So the lower IQR would be the more reliable data. This one, quick change, would be the more reliable data, more predictable. Reliable and predictable mean the same thing. So let's take a look at this one. Sometimes they're just going to give you the box and whisker plot, and you have to find the IQR. So remember that your Q1 is at the beginning of the box. Your Q3 is at the end of the box. So we're looking at 7 and we're looking at 10. So 7 and 10. Again, your formula for IQR is to take your Q3, subtract your Q1, and that gives you your IQR of 3. Let's take a look at one more. Sometimes you have to make sort of an estimate of the numbers, all right? The Q1 is very easy, all right? The Q1 is the edge of our box. That is clearly 400. But your Q3 is right here. Now, I'm going to estimate that 500 is right in between 400 and 600. So this is really 500 here. And if I draw a straight line down from here, I'm going to guess that that's right at about 550. Sometimes you just have to make an estimate, all right? So your IQR would be 550 or Q3 minus your Q1, which is 400. That gives you an IQR of 150. Now, that might seem like a really, really big IQR, but look at the numbers that we're looking at here, all right? The numbers that we're looking at are very big numbers. So this would indeed be probably a smaller IQR, all right? So that would be pretty reliable data. I would say this one is pretty small as well, all right? Your big ones are, you really just got to look at your numbers and see how widespread those numbers are as compared to your data. So again, your interquartile range, or IQR, is your Q3 minus your Q1. A smaller box means more reliable, more predictable data. A big box means less reliable, less predictable data. Remember that you have to go to stat edit, type in your data, stat calc, and one variable statistics to do your 5-number summary, which will appear at the bottom.